Hello, Gold participants from around the world. I'm Fleur Bickford, Program Director and MC for Gold Learning. I'm here today talking with Barbara Harper about her upcoming Gold Midwifery presentation titled 7 Secrets of Successful Water Birth. So Barbara, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Fleur. It's a pleasure to work with Gold Midwifery.
Thank you. So first of all, I'd love it if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional journey and how you came to be so interested in water birth.
Well, the journey started in the early 70s when I was directed towards nursing school. I was studying drama, and I wanted to be a teacher in high school and help kids learn the wonderful world of English literature and drama. Um, and I was doing very well with that, but I had a dream that my grandmother came into and said, "You need to be a nurse." And it's kind of helpful to understand that my grandmother was a nurse for 57 years. She was a nurse and a midwife in the northwest corner of Ohio, and she was my inspiration. I even share her last name. I took her last name as my last name, and so it's that's when the journey started. When I was practicing as a nurse in the hospital in the 70s, I just did not like and could not reconcile what we had to do, separating mothers and babies and washing them immediately after birth, and it just didn't sit well. So I left nursing in OB and went to pediatrics thinking that was going to be better, but it wasn't. And then went into neurosurgical intensive care and then cardiac intensive care, and even had a specialty certificate in both of those. And it wasn't until after I had my first child in 1978 that it awakened in me again the need for changing the way we welcome babies into the world, because that birth was anything but gentle. And I won't go into that. But fast forward 6 years, and I was practicing as a pediatric nurse, and a mother told me that she wanted to have a water birth with her sixth baby. And I dropped my pen and I said, "Tell me about that. What is that?" And so she went on to tell me that she was going to prepare for a home water birth. And I ended up helping her set everything up. I designed the tub, I got the hoses, the pumps, the everything. And that was 1983. And 9 months later, to the day that her baby was born, I gave birth to my second child at home in water. And that night, when I birthed my son Sam, I turned to my midwife and I said, "We have got to tell women how amazing this is." And I haven't shut up since.
Well, that is fantastic. What a fascinating story. And I love the story about your grandmother. That is so fascinating. And so interesting to hear about how, your journey took a number of detours before you found your way to what you're doing now. It's so interesting. Thank you for sharing. So the next question I have was, I know recently you have done some traveling, and I know you have some travel coming up again soon. I have been watching with fascination your posts on your Facebook page about your recent trip to Asia, and we were chatting, just before this about the fact that you're going to be going to India just after your midwifery presentation. So I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit more about your trip to Asia and your upcoming trip to India and what you're going to be doing there.
Well, Fleur, I've been going to Taiwan and China for the last 13 years. And I get invitations to teach providers, doctors, midwives, and nurses how to facilitate water birth in hospital settings. And I've traveled to 60 countries so far. Number 61 is coming up just after India. I'll be going to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates to do the same thing. And I the water birth has been like a key that opened the door to teach about gentle birth. It's the underlying theme, and I tell people, before you step into the tub, let's talk about labor positions. Let's talk about supporting women, not making them push at 10 centimeters. Let's cover all of the issues, and then we can introduce water. And so I just am very thankful that I talked to that woman in the doctor's office in 1983, and that she introduced me to water birth. And I've been giving professional lectures on water birth and granting certifications and even doing credentialing of hospitals all around the world for about the last 20 years. So when I go into China, I actually have a long-term contract with a hospital corporation in China. They currently are building over 100 hospitals, one corporation is, and I get the privilege of being with these amazing nurses and midwives and doctors, and they sit down in the classroom, and I have them for 4 or 5 days, and water birth is just one small part of it. So we have fun. We give hard tests. I I do one-to-one oral examinations. We get the doctors doing labor support. We get the doctors on their hands and knees, squatting and singing and oming, and I just have so much fun when I go over and do that. Sometimes I take assistance with me. Sometimes I do it all on my own. But China is, in Southeast Asia, every year there's going to be 10, um, no, 100 million babies. Every year there's going to be 100 million births
Wow.
in China, Southeast Asia, India. And so that's the place I like to go the most, because there's such an impact that happens there. And when I go back to a hospital where I've been, I get to see that impact right in front of me. And there's hospitals in China that have already, one hospital that I visited this time, their midwives had gone to just one workshop that I'd done, and they have already facilitated 10,000 water births in one hospital. So when you attend 20,000 births in one year, you're going to rack up the numbers. So we've started research projects there. The same thing in India. I love going to India. It's kind of like my mother country. I just feel it. I feel at home everywhere, but particularly in India. I love the food. I love the people, the colors, the fabrics. It's just, I was made to do this. Absolutely made to do this, and it's an exciting prospect.
Well, it sounds fascinating, and your excitement and your passion really comes through when you're talking about it, and it's fantastic. And I am so excited that you're going to be sharing some of that excitement and knowledge with our delegates. Perhaps you can tell us just very briefly about what you hope delegates will take away from your upcoming presentation.
Um, well, the seven secrets. I want them to understand that water birth is safe. It makes it comforts the mother and makes the journey through the childbearing experience more pleasurable. And I also want them to take away the consciousness and participation of their newborn. And that's before the birth and after the birth. That the baby, most importantly, has a brain wired hard drive that says, I must get out and I know the way. Mom, just work with me. Just work with me. Let me out and let me express my Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because each fetus and newborn has the same needs that we do. They have a self-expression. And if just one person gets that and starts respecting that baby as a conscious participant in the process, then your whole view of midwifery changes.
Okay, thank you so much, Barbara, and really looking forward to hearing more from you during your presentation, which will be taking place on Monday, February 22nd at 2000 UTC. So for all of our delegates who are listening, we look forward to having you join us then. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and goodbye for now.